People are always asking us here at Car Rental Coach, what are the most reliable cars to buy for Turo and what are the worst ones? That's why today we're with an actual auto mechanic and we're going to go through his top most reliable vehicles as well as the ones that he says you should definitely stay away from. So first of all, Seth, thank you for taking time out of your day to do this.
No problem, man.
So what are your qualifications? Why should people listen to you about cars?
I've worked at a couple of dealerships, did some like training for that manufacturer. I went to Rosedale, went to school, got my state and emissions license. I'm at a small shop now. I've been to a couple of those too, working for like smaller companies, not truly dealers, but
Okay, yeah, you worked for some major chains, and how long have you been a mechanic for?
about 5 years now.
5 years?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
But I was always tinkering when I was younger with like my dad's side of the family. Like they're all.
And this
like
is your
Chevy
vehicle
heads.
right
Yeah.
here, right? This is a
Yeah.
unique ride.
Yeah, this is an 82 S10, 454 big block under the hood. There's some fatter tires in the rear too, 85 millimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those watching at home, anybody that drives a vehicle like this, you know they're a true car lover. So he's definitely passionate about what he does. So we're going to get right into the meat of it, and we're going to figure out the best and the worst cars when it comes to Turo and some of the things that Seth's encountered from working on hundreds, if not thousands of vehicles at this point. All right, so Seth, first question for you from the viewers at home that we got. What are the worst cars you've seen come into the shop over and over again?
Over and over again, I've seen a lot of Subarus. A lot of Subarus with the EJ 2.5 liter, like later Imprezas and Legacies, and the newer Crosstreks, Foresters, and Outbacks have them too. A lot of cooling system problems, like faulty ECT sensors, water pumps, rad hoses, radiators, which can cause, like, when your engine's overheating, it can cause warpage to your heads depending on what material it is. Like aluminum heads, they warp easy. Your valves, it can crack your valves, seize them up, or just heat in general will cause friction to other engine components and cause wear damage.
That makes sense. So what are some other vehicles that you're seeing that come in and out of the shop all the time that you're always seeing fail? People are having the same issues all the time.
I'd have to say 15 Ford Escapes with the 1.6 EcoBoost. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them with just rear brake problems all the time. Even after getting replaced, it's just something like wheel bearing in the rear. They destroy spark plugs. Seen two back to back at Toyota for used car check. Have blown turbos, but even with that, you have to like go through. You have to change the oil just in case of impurities when you're changing the turbo, and you have to change the coolant lines to it, the return line and the oil line. Then the gaskets for those lines and the turbo. And whenever I was done with mapping everything out on my sheet for the RO, my used car manager just wholesaled it because it was over $5,000 just to do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a real headache. So besides the ones that you've seen, are there any just like years, makes, and models that you would stay away from completely if you were to start a rental car business and want something that's not going to be breaking down and have you pouring in thousands of dollars into the cars?
So 10 to 17 Equinoxes.
10 to 7, okay.
They have a problem with the PCV valves getting frozen, and it'll cause crank pressure, blowing out seals, losing oil. When I was at Chevy, I worked there for like almost 2 years, and we would recommend, instead of like an annual every 5,000 mile oil change, we would lower it to 2,000 to 3,000 miles just so it'd lose so much oil. They're
yeah,
bad.
and we've rented a lot of the older Equinoxes, and definitely agree about the oil problems. They burn oil. So they're some of our best cars to stay on the road. They're always rented. People like them, and we can get them for cheap prices. So we make sure we're always checking the oil on those ones more and doing more regular changes and
right.
making sure the fluids. And for those who have been watching the channel for a while now, you probably heard my one story when I started with private rentals. I rented out an old Equinox to a woman, I won't say her name, older woman. But the oil light came on, and at the time I didn't know how to handle insurance and how to get the most money. It was very early on, my first year of actually doing rentals. Yeah. She ended up blowing the engine because the oil light came on and she didn't stop driving it. And that's one that cost me thousands of dollars. But thankfully, since then, I've learned how the insurance works. I've been doing it for years now. And that's why if you guys ever want to start a car rental business, scale it, and make sure you know everything about insurance, you can work with us at carrentalcoach.com. Fill out our quick 60-second survey, and if you qualify, you'll actually work with me and our team one-on-one to get you to where you need to be with your car rental business and make sure you're successful. You can learn from all of the mistakes and pitfalls that I've made, like that Equinox that blew up, which was not a great day. That was terrible.
No, sounds bad.
All right. Discuss some of the cars that you say that you would never want to rent. So Ford Escapes, some of the Subarus, and then the Equinoxes. They can do good on Turo, but you really got to watch out with the oil problems. So let's get into what are some of the good and reliable cars. So we had somebody ask us recently in the comments, which economy cars do you think are the most reliable that are also cheap to fix that you think would be good for rental cars?
So I was working at Toyota and seeing a lot of Corollas, newer and old. They're pretty good. Never had really any problems besides like they'd come in for maintenance unless they're wrecked or just abused without having maintenance. Like I've seen people like they'd curb a rim or something and then they just don't care about the car. That's the only time I really had any problems with them. But that and newer Camrys I'd say are good. I don't know. I feel yet about the 25s though, just because it's a V6 hybrid. And they're throwing them in all of them, but all I heard was good things.
What do you think makes a difference with those vehicles versus a lot of other cars in the same like price range? What makes like these Toyota Camrys and stuff like built better, you know, from a technician's standpoint?
Well, everybody knows like Toyota's been reliable for years, and just the way they're engineered, basically, like they're easy to work on. They don't take much to just keep fresh.
Okay. Anything about the engines they use versus like other companies? Like, is there like a certain way that they work that makes them more reliable?
Probably just injection basis. I mean, like if you take the Elantra, for example, GDI engine has a lot of carbon buildup sometimes. Sometimes you have to service that. They have valve cleaners and stuff from CRC.
Okay. Interesting. That makes sense. And then if you were to buy a vehicle, like, so just so you know, with Turo, you can put anything on at the time of this video that's a 2013 or newer and under 130,000 miles.
Yeah.
But if you had, say, $10,000 to buy a vehicle, what kind of car would you recommend in that price range for people that are watching at home? They have 10 grand. They want to get their first car to put on Turo.
I'd go for a Mazda 3.
Okay.
Or like a Honda Civic or Accord.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for 10K at least. And even with higher mileage, just you gotta look at how the car was maintained.
No, that's really good advice. Yeah, no, for that 10 grand price point we're talking about. Now, what do you think's the worst car you could buy for a rental car business at that 10,000 or less price point? The absolute worst, where you'll be surprised if they make any money.
For 13, I don't know about 10K price, but maybe like a 13. I just have one in the shop at 13 Dodge. Charger SXT.
Okay. What's so bad about those?
The oil cooling housing, it's connected to the oil filter housing as well. And you have to take the whole intake manifold off everything. And then they also have problems. If you don't take care of them right, the injectors, they'll actually clog up and burn out, which will cause other issues with the engine.
That makes sense. All right. And we've been getting this question all the time through comments and then people that we've been coaching at carrentalcoach.com. So Seth, when you go to check out a car that you want to buy, let's say you're going on Facebook Marketplace or something like that.
Yeah.
What are the most important things to look at to know if this car is going to be a good buy or not? Like what could people that maybe aren't experts with vehicles like you are, but like some good actionable tips that, you know, they're new to it, they want to go look at a car, like what should they be looking at to make sure they don't get screwed?
So for Facebook, I actually got my truck off of Facebook, and first off, you want to make sure it's not a scam, because that's like one of the biggest things now online with that stuff is just scam. But I always ask first to get pictures underneath, and if they can't provide the pictures from underneath the vehicle to see the chassis and frame, I would try to set up an appointment, meet with them in person, look underneath. This is a unibody car. This is a pinch weld. It acts as the frame and your rockers. If this is rotted out, that fails state inspection. Okay? Look underneath. See, like surface rust is fine, but if it's completely rotted, stay away from it. You're just going to be dumping money in the parts. Like 2015 4Runners, sometimes if the rag goes out or something, like if coolant leak, down on the core support, it would corrode it out because it's corrosion. And there's all the top part of the frame. It's hard to get your hand up there, but usually that's where the frame will go out at. and that's actually very unsafe.
Anything else you would recommend when they're looking at the car for the first time?
For any engine noise, here at Run, put every single load on to make sure the charging system's good.
And when you say every single load, for those who don't know what that means,
like the AC, turn the AC on, turn your high beams on and off, your lights in general, anything that has to do with drawing current from the engine.
That's good advice. Turn on everything.
Putting load on the engine. Yeah,
makes sense. And then, do you recommend like any tools, or like should they bring a scanner? You think when checking out?
Yeah, if you want to get a little handheld scanner, you don't gotta go like $4,000 scanner, like any fanciness, because they do the same thing. But yeah, scanner's good. They have little kits too if you want for head gasket testing for fumes. If you want to get it, it's a fluid with a tube, and you put it by either the exhaust, or if you take the rad cap off and sometimes it'll steam, you can put it towards zero, change the color and dilute it and everything. It'll tell you if there's like a coolant leak or a head gasket leak.
That's great advice. And then as far as the Carfax and stuff goes, how important is that to you when you're looking at a car to buy?
Carfax, the lower amount of owners is better. And I look for, because Carfax only has like wrecks, right? It doesn't tell you what type of wreck it has.
Yeah, it will tell you like the area and stuff, and like severity, or like if an airbag went off, but not. It gives you a little bit, but not the whole picture.
Yeah, because I mean, depending on how many wrecks or what type of wreck, like if it was like a rollover, even if it wasn't a rollover, it was called a rollover, I'd stay away from it.
Okay. And then with sourcing these cars, where do you recommend? So a lot of people buy from auctions. There's Facebook Marketplace. People buy from dealerships. Where do you think you can find the best deals at?
The best deals? Probably a used car lot like this.
Yeah.
I like used car lots. I mean, as long as everything is maintenance right and problems are taken care of. I mean, you can make a car that's like, say, like an '08, even though you can only, for Turo, you're 13. But say like an '08, dude, you can make that car go over 250,000 miles. My buddy Mike, he has an '08 F-150 with a 5.0 in it. Yeah. And he's hitting 250 right now.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And then with Facebook Marketplace, we talked about some red flags. Have you ever experienced like talking to any scammers on there and
I've
had any bad interactions? Yes,
I have, but I've never had. I had like one sketchy guy in person, but it ended up being good.
Okay.
He was just like nervous or something, but no, like usually you can tell from a scam right away online. Like the pictures will be the same. Like if you're swiping through pictures on it, or if you try to text them, it's like automated.
That makes sense. And something I've noticed when seeing scams too, it's priced too good. It doesn't make sense. It's like 30 or 40% under market value.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. Or if you see somebody that's constantly listing cars on there, right? And they act like they're personal use.
Yep.
That's another pretty good indicator. Okay. And then we talked a lot about economy cars. If you were to buy, say, a luxury vehicle, and we're not talking like Lamborghini or Ferrari,
no, that's
more
exotics.
Like Mercedes and BMWs and stuff.
Yeah.
What year, make, and models would you recommend if somebody wanted to get into something a little higher end, maybe the $20,000 to $50,000 price range?
Probably a 3 Series BMW.
Okay.
325, 328, 335. My sister had one. I think it was a 15 or 16, and it had the 3.0 in it. Mm-hmm. And dude, I whooped the balls off that thing. Dude, it never had any lights.
That part out. I don't know. It was a little bleep.
But nah, dude, I drove that thing for so long, had no problems. Like I kept up with the maintenance on it, but no engine light, no engine knock, nothing like that. Transmission was good.
Nice. So that would be a good like entry level car for somebody that wants to get into the higher end stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Now Seth's gonna walk you through just some of the basics of a vehicle. We're gonna talk more about things to look at when you're going to purchase one, but then just want to give you guys some basic car knowledge so you actually know what the parts are. So come on and take a look in here.
So this is your battery, of course. Recommended to have 12 volts. Your air box with your air filter in it, your intake manifold. Come over here. This is your valve cover. Your cams and your cam gears are under here with your valves. Here's your alternator. That's part of your charging system. And make sure that that gets all cycled all through your components inside of the engine. Well, not inside, but all their sensors and everything that runs off of the voltage of the battery. And actually there's diodes in there that changes DC to AC voltage for certain parts. Here's your high pressure fuel pump. If you look in here real tightly, there's your coil pack. They sit on top of your spark plugs and it tells it whenever your piston's about to be before dead center, it'll set a spark from your injectors throwing fuel, and it'll actually push the piston back down, and that's your combustion. Simple thing to check too is you pop these little ears off here. Can't get my hand in there. Just take this, and this is your air filter. Make sure it's clean. Like, see these debris? Like, sometimes people will like slap them out, spray them with a certain cleaner for your filters, but this one seems pretty brand new. Another thing to check on these cars, if you're trying to buy them, is you want to start the engine. You don't have to do it for this long, usually like 10-15 seconds. But like, you want to listen to it and feel it, see if it's misfiring.
And what's it supposed to sound like? What's a sign of a healthy engine?
Well, the rod and off is bad. I ain't gonna do it. I ain't. But I mean, it won't sound normal. I don't know how to really explain it. Like, it's a knock. Like, I don't have a wrench on me. Something like this, like you'll hear like something like that. I don't know if it picked that up.
I got you. But that's an indicator something's wrong then.
Yeah.
That knocking sound.
Yeah.
That's pretty common.
Ticking, valve chatter.
Yeah.
Like, you'll know.
Besides that, you mentioned a few other things to look at the car. Like, you were showing me you were shaking it to look at it. So.
Oh yeah.
So why do you do that? What does that tell you when you go up to it?
It's a cheap man's inspection.
Which is how a lot of our clients have to do it. You know, if they can't take it to
if you don't have a pump jack or something and you're hearing a noise, you grab it right here above the door.
Yeah.
And you shake it.
What's that usually an indicator of if that starts making
that's
a
your
noise?
suspension components, like your tie rod end. Sometimes you can get your lower ball joint to make a noise from that. It just tells you like hey, something's wrong. Like, take it somewhere, get it looked at. It's just it's like a cheap man's inspection. It's nothing crazy. But since we started the engine, we can check the oil now. You always want to start your engine first. Pull this guy out. I don't have a rag. Oh well. You wipe this off, and you dip it back in. That's your indicator that you're full. This seems pretty good. It's actually fresh oil too.
What's the color supposed to be when it's looking good versus
you want to see sunlight through it.
Sunlight, so nice and clear.
Yep, nice and clear.
Like liquid gold.
Yeah. Need some washer fluid.
Good heads up.
Yeah, another thing too that you can do is roll this back and forth here, and you can check your motor mounts. Some manufacturers have a specific play for mounts, but you'll definitely know. You can also have a buddy help you too, and when the car's running, have them shift it through reverse, neutral, drive, and it will actually shift the engine if a mount is bad.
All right, nice. That's a great, thorough inspection. So, guys, I hope you're enjoying these tips and tricks. So when you go to look at a vehicle, you can make sure you're buying the proper ones. And Seth, as far as things wrong with cars, what's the cheapest, like, easiest fix that you've seen for, like, issues?
Cheapest, easiest fix?
Yeah, some of them. I know that's a pretty broad question, but like things that aren't that big of a deal that are pretty cheap to replace.
I've had the base of a air box crack, getting false air to a mass airflow sensor, which can incorrectly send a signal to your computer, and your air fuel mixture will be off.
Okay.
I am stuck.
And then what are some issues that you've seen that sometimes are like easy fixes, but may seem like something's really dramatically wrong with the vehicle? So I know for one, sometimes it's as simple as like turning the gas cap on again.
Small evap leak. Yeah, that's
things like that.
I've had a bunch of those. Exhaust leak can sound bad.
Exhaust leak can sound bad, but not okay.
Yeah, it could be a loose clamp or just a little tack weld will fix that. You know what I mean?
Then what's your advice on maintaining these vehicles so people get the longest life out of them? Like, what's a good routine and schedule to have your car on?
I don't know if this one has it, but every manufacturer has either online or like in your glove box will have a service manual or an owner's manual.
Okay.
And it will have service points for like different repairs depending on the mileage of the vehicle.
Mm.
Sometimes it's like you can go over that mileage and be fine, but like this Nissan, I just had a Nissan Murano with the 3.5 in it, and it was 135,000 miles, and he wanted his timing chain replaced. Even though nothing was bad with it,
Yeah.
I ended up taking it apart, dropped the engine out, took the timing cover off, and I didn't know this until that job, but they have the plastic guide for the chain.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom bracket of it, they go bad and it'll slip the whole guide out, and that was what's starting to happen. So even if it don't sound bad, something can be happening.
No, it makes a lot of
sense. If that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so check your car's owner's manual, take a look at that, keep making sure you're doing the maintenance. Obviously regular oil changes and stuff like that. How often do you recommend getting a vehicle aligned?
Getting aligned? Sometimes, I mean, I have a customer, he'll do it like probably 2,000 miles after his oil change. Like, we'll rotate his tires and everything, and then usually, like, if he has good tread on the back and it's a front-wheel drive vehicle, we'll rotate him, and then if he runs it for that 2,000 miles and we see unnormal wear, we'll align it.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And then back to the economy cars. I know we mentioned a couple that you said would be winners, but what were some of the other ones that you like on the cheaper, like under $10,000 price range?
8th to 10th gen Impalas.
Okay.
And 8th to 9th gen Malibus are good.
Malibu. So Chevy's pretty good with those ones?
Yeah. The only ones you got to worry about are the older ones because of transmission issues and electrical issues, but all cars have electrical issues at some point. But yeah, like the newer gen.
All right, so we were talking about transmissions earlier, and a lot of people with Car Rental Coach and our clients, they've been asking us what we think about CVT transmissions. So I want to hear from your standpoint. Well, first off, what does it stand for? And then what's the difference between a CVT transmission and a traditional transmission?
So traditional transmission runs off of clutch packs and gears. You have a planetary gear, you have a sun gear, sometimes you have multiple. You got your input shaft, all that. I'm not a transmission guy. Like I'll R&R a transmission, but CVTs, they run completely different. There's two pulleys that actually continuously change diameter off of a belt, and it runs off of wheel speed.
Okay.
And with that, it keeps the engine steady and everything, but it restricts the power of it, and also you can't it restricts of how big of an engine it can run off. I mean, I don't really have a problem with them. The only thing is that they're more expensive to have maintenance on and repaired, and they wear out easier. It's a belt. Just like a timing chain or a timing belt. Like, I'm a timing chain guy because they're made out of metal.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, the belts are easier to put on for timing, but they wear out faster. They don't last as long. They're not as durable.
That makes sense. So as far as the transmission goes, you wouldn't say, hey, stay away from these, but just be under the understanding that they might be a little bit more expensive to fix than they might end up going.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And then one last question for you, Seth. So we were talking about the best luxury cars. We talked about the best economy cars and the worst economy cars. So what do you think is the worst luxury vehicle to rent on Turo? What is something where you're just like, this is junk, this is going to go bad?
I'd have to go with the Audi A4.
Audi A4?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, at least 2012 into 2015, I believe, maybe even 17. I know they had a ring defect, and actually their electric water pump would short circuit, and it would catch the car on fire.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So stay away from those, everybody watching at home. And remember, guys, if you want us to help start or scale your car rental business, go to carrentalcoach.com, fill out our quick 60-second survey. And if you qualify, we'll work with you one-on-one, and you'll have access to information from our whole community, including people like Seth. And if you guys have any questions for Seth, please comment down below in the comments. Anything you guys want us to ask him, we'll make sure that we respond to every single one of you in the comments. And we're going to do a follow-up video with Seth too. So anything you guys have, throw it at us, and we're happy to help. And we'll see you in the next one.